The Timeshift.
Hello and welcome, I'm Chris Hall and this is The Timeshift, my sci-fi fun fest, and it's great to have you with me as always. Today looking at the latest episode of Doctor Who entitled The ISIS Invasion. The Zygon Invasion. The Zygon Invasion, because this episode is such a bold political vision. Oh dear me. Now because this video is something of a critique review kind of thing, this video is going to be spoiler heavy. So if you don't want this episode spoiled for you for whatever reason, it's best to switch the video off now. Okay, everybody ready? Everybody geared up? Let us dive headfirst into the Zygon Invasion. Ooh. Okay, so I have to be honest here. Going into this week's episode, I expected to hate it. Every single minute of it. To hate and despise it, to get angry, vengeful, venomous, and then do this video and it will be one massive rant. Well, I can tell you fans of not ranting, you're going to be in luck, because this isn't going to be a rant, as I found this episode to be so incredibly pathetic. I can't get angry at it. It'd be like laughing at a wounded animal. It would serve no logical purpose to anything at all, because this episode is so bloody pathetic. I can't get angry at it. As much as I'd like to go on some big, bold, angry rant, I can't. As I just feel so bloody sorry for this episode, I honestly do. Now I have to say this before we get into the meat and potatoes of the review, I have no issue at all with science fiction, or Doctor Who even, to be used as a vessel to explore big, important political issues. I have no issue with that whatsoever. Science fiction and political writings go together like a hand in a glove. And I would have liked this episode to have been as smooth, as comfortable as a hand in a glove, but it really isn't. I will probably get onto why that is the case just shortly. But here are just a handful of the things that I just hurt my brain ever so slightly with this week's episode. Okay, so we'll start off quickly with Osgood being alive, or one Osgood is alive. Is she human? Is she not? Who actually cares? I have never liked Osgood ever, not even when she was first introduced. I hate quirky people, I hate quirky characters. I hate quirky hipster characters even more, and she's all those things and a bag of crisps, to be quite honest with you. I understand many people like her, but in this week's episode she wasn't the Osgood in which people liked. She was very vague, very distant, because she's supposed to be mysterious. Is she human or is she a Zygon? Whoa. Do we know? Do we honestly care? Do the writers know? I don't think so at all. And of course, drones! Oh my god, drones! Suddenly, for no good reason, we have a moment with drones and how horrible drones are. Because with drones, you're killing people without actually doing it yourself, and innocent people will die. And that woman was there, and her children, her family was there at the doorstep waving through them in a made-up country that doesn't exist, was actually filmed in some part in Wales. Oh, it's so sad. Oh, let's ban war. It's so horrible. Let's ban war, get rid of guns and weapons, and everybody have one big hug. It's so sad. Oh God almighty, really? I mean, that's just throwing a whole important issue, something that should be discussed, just using it as cannon fodder for more tears and sadness and more ambiguity, forced ambiguity. Because this episode is forcing so many bloody things and getting absolutely nowhere in doing so. The church scene, everybody's talking about it, everyone's getting angry at it, everyone's waving the fingers at it. Here's the fundamental problem with that scene, aside from the crap acting within it. It serves no purpose whatsoever. I suppose as a big thing, it was supposed to make us question our own motives, to try and challenge us in a big, bold, deep way to, are these Zygons, are they humans? Can you ever kill a loved one? Oh, how sad, how terrible. It's like a modern day invasion of the body snatchers, it really is. But in reality, it kind of gets knocked for six when we find out they are Zygons and such. All the political wanglings, manglings and fandangos that have gone on for that entire 5-minute sequence, utterly pointless. There is no challenge there whatsoever. I mean, really, the unit in this episode have been shown to be utterly useless. And you could say, oh well, you know, if you were in that situation, would you really be able to kill your mother? Well, here's the thing. These guys are trained to deal with alien threats and alien invasions. At some point during the course, there must have been some little leaflet, a paragraph at least, about how to deal with shape-shifting aliens. You know, you ask them questions that only the person that you're asking would know, like, say, their birth date. Because they're not going to know that. Anything else, they're not going to know it. And the fact that she wasn't able to answer it should have been carte blanche enough for him to shoot her, or for someone else in the group to shoot them. You know, just a little thing there. I just like to throw out there that these guys, this whole unit group, are a little bit crap, aren't they? The Brigadier wouldn't have stood for this. No way. It'd be court-martials all round, and everybody going to bed without their tea. Okay, so I could just ream off an entire list. I mean, I've covered 2 pages of notes for this week's episode, and I could quite easily fill out another 2, because this episode is full of so many small things that I feel I'd be here all day just listening them all. But let us actually get down to the reason, the fundamental reason why this week's episode doesn't work, at least for me. Which is the fact that the whole issues that they're trying to cover, the ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the migrant crisis, refugees, all these things are big, multifaceted issues. And it's always, more often than not, multiple areas of grey. It's not black and white. However, this episode, for whatever reason, fails to actually appear at all grey, to have any kind of shades to it other than black and white. And the reason is simply because there are no good Zygons. In this episode, there is no suggestion that there are any good Zygons, because you certainly don't see them. And you haven't seen any good Zygons up until now in the entire run of Doctor Who, at least in the TV show. Sure, books and everything, but I don't really go in for those. So at no point have we any kind of point of reference that we can say, well, there are good Zygons, so they must be good guys deep down, or maybe they are all evil, or, oh my god, this is such a complex issue, because it isn't. It's not multifaceted at all, it's black and white. And you can't make the claim that the Zygons are anything but evil simply by going off the final 5 minutes of this episode when shit hits the fan, for Christ's sake. You can't say that there are good Zygons when there's no evidence at all within the series to suggest that there are. I mean, all we needed was just one Zygon somewhere in this episode who was a good guy, who maybe was helping UNIT in some capacity, maybe just as an advisor, maybe stick a lab coat on him and goofy glasses and have him as a bit of a comic relief. That would at least been something that we could have at least the slightest suggestion of an area of grey, some kind of ambiguity. But there isn't. There's no ambiguity to this episode whatsoever. And next week, maybe there will be, because the title suggests that there may be. But I've seen some theories that the inversion thing may be from turning them inside out and killing them, or something. Without this point of reference, this good Zygon, there is no real method, there's no point of reference for us to at all have any sense of ambiguity to the actions going on around us. At no point are we sufficiently motivated to question the motives of UNIT or the Doctor or anyone within the episode. There is no suggestion that what the Zygons are doing is actually good, or they have genuine mean or motive with which to do it. We're just left sat there passively watching something that at the end of the day is nothing more than a vague political rant. Now, despite all that, I didn't hate this week's episode, but purely and simply because I found it so pathetic. I enjoyed it in the so bad it's good kind of sense, but there is nothing at the heart of this episode that is good. It's using big horrible things happening in the world right now to create some weird sense of melodrama, to not actually explore the issues at all in a way which shows any kind of emotional maturity. It's using them as nothing more than window dressing so it can have these melodramatic set pieces to treat these horrible things happening in the world, which we see reported on the news on a daily basis, as being nothing more than fodder so that the writer's ego can be stroked by people telling him he's a genius. When I see no genius here, they're just effectively transcribing what they see in the news and then changing the names ever so slightly. It's not big or clever. It's just really, really pathetic. But anyway, let us move on to briefly talk about the performances, because really there's nothing at all worth talking about with this episode at all. So the performance side of things, performances, Peter Capaldi, Jenny Coleman, fine. Everyone else, crap, is the sad weight of things. Once again, I don't like Osgood's character. I don't like the performance of Osgood, and this whole suggestion that he's both Zygon and human now, I just think he's labouring more political rhetoric which isn't going to be explored or developed or treated in a way which is at all mature or shows any sign of real adult human understanding. It is a sad state of affairs. We've got these horrible things happening in the world which are being explored in Doctor Who, but in a way which feels so superfluous, like a veneer hiding some dark motive just to shake the fists in the air as they get nominated for a BAFTA or something. It's just not on, it really isn't. Everyone else bars crap. Any character with an American accent in this show this week was crap. Not because he had an American accent, but because the characters, the actors themselves, crap. There's nothing really else talking about, so we might as well just wander off to the overview. So the overview, once again, I didn't hate this week's episode because I found it so pathetic. It was laughable. It really was laughable. Some of the lines, some of the moments, some of the bits within it were just stupid. So bloody stupid. And it's a shame, it really is, that we have all these big things, these big bold things, these problems within the world which should be perfect to be explored in episode of Doctor Who, but haven't been. And that's the truly disappointing thing about it. I can't get angry about this week's episode, I can just feel this profound sense of disappointment. Because it effectively means that if anyone else, any other writer wants to explore these things in the not too distant future with Doctor Who, they really can't now because it's already been done. Unless they do what really should have been done in the first place and not have it set on Earth, have it set on an alien world with a new original alien species or species, and then do it that way, rather than trying to claw Doctor Who monsters into real world problems, but at no stage metamorphosizing those problems into something that feels of that world, that feels just enough disconnected from our world that it can be interesting, but at the same time can be explored by us at home, that we can sit there and go, you know, this kind of reminds me of the migration issue, this kind of reminds me of the whole problem with ISIS. We don't get that at all because it's blatantly obvious who the Zygons are supposed to be just from that stupid flag they've got. I mean, really, this episode is totally without any kind of subtlety to it, without guile or wit. And yet some people are talking as though this is some great classic of Doctor Who, that it is bold, new, original, that it's biting, it's satire, its look upon the world, and this issue today is so genius, when in reality it actually isn't at all, because it doesn't fundamentally work in the simple fact that it's not exploring the issues in a sufficient way. Once again, it is taking issues which are multifaceted, multiple shades of grey, and exploring them in an incredibly black and white way. That simply isn't on, and it does these issues no service whatsoever. And there's only so far that you can say that they're keeping it ambiguous so that we ourselves can go away and come up with the solutions ourselves. You can only do that to a point before you start to think to yourselves, hang on a minute, do the writers actually have any kind of intention behind this at all whatsoever, and it isn't some kind of vain ego trip so that people can call them a genius. I mean, really. And once again, this writer has done a bunk from Twitter to go off into hiding until the dust has settled and they can write the next abomination. I mean, really, I just don't know where to go with that. But anyway, what about you? What do you think about this week's episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Tell me in the little comment section below, whichever place you're seeing this on, and maybe I'll be back next week or not. I probably will, because I want to see just how stupid this whole thing can get. But in any case, I'll be back next week or something. So goodbye.